This is the straight ahead animation tutorials, the first part of those. So to start anew, we want to go down to Flash and click on the icon, and it will open up. When the welcome screen appears, select Create New, Action Script 3.0. I'm going to fit this in Window. Because we're doing tutorials, I like to have the frame rate lower. It makes it easier on you. You understand the concepts, and you'll know when you want to do a more complete animation, you will use a larger frame rate, but right now 12 will work. File, Save As, and let's go ahead and navigate to the correct folder. And here I don't have my home folder here. I will put in my folder name, and then I will save this as O2 tutorial VDK. We're going to do straight ahead additive animation first. Additive animation is when you start with something on a frame and then you duplicate that frame and add to some of the drawing and then duplicate again and add some more drawing until you have a complete picture. First we want to make layers. The first layer I want to call layer A. Then I want to add 2 more layers, and I want to call the middle one B and the bottom one C. To select the layer name to change it, you just double click and then it gives you the opportunity to input the text. So the top one is A. I'm going to lock the bottom 2. I'm going to click on the fill color and choose a bright color. I think I'll use a bright blue. So clicking on the fill color, click on the fill color, and I come down to find a bright color of blue. 0066FF is a good color. Let's select that one. I'm going to get my drawing tool. I'm going to select my brush, and I will select a medium brush size. In the upper left of the frame, draw a small dot or line to start a capital A. I'm going to start at the top. So I'll click, and there's a dot. Now let's press F6, which will add a frame. It is duplicating the first frame. Both the frames are the same. They both have content, as you can tell, and they both have the same content. I can go back to frame 1, I can go to frame 2. They both look the same. But I'm going to add some to this. Now I'm going to choose to make enough shape to fill 10 frames to build this letter A. So this is frame 2, F6. This is frame 3, F6. This is frame 4, F6. This is frame 5, F6. This is frame 6, F6. This is frame 7, F6. This is frame 8, F6. This is 9, F6. This is 10. There is my capital A. Command S, that will save. Now, if you click on this arrow with a line, this is the go to the first frame. It's down at the bottom. Click on it, goes to the first frame. If you click on this, this is the looping. This allows looping of replay. This shows you your frames that will be involved in this replay, you can make sure that it plays everything by using, under the Modify Markers, Marker Range All. Okay? Now press Enter, and it should loop the playback. And you can see it builds the letter A. Okay, so if we press Return again, it will stop. Let's turn off the playback, and let's go back to frame 1. On layer B, we want to use Subtractive Animation. Let's lock layer A, unlock layer B, and make sure that layer B is blue. It's the selected layer. On frame 1, let's select a bright red color. FF0000 is very red, and you'll find it over here in the far left-hand short list of colors. Now, what you want to do is you want to draw a capital letter B on frame 1, the full letter. So let's draw the capital letter B. There you go, capital letter B. Since I don't have any other keyframes, and since there is no stop after it, it just shows the whole time. F6 to duplicate the first frame. There it is. Now, for your tool, you want to choose the eraser tool, which is this block underneath the eyedropper near the middle of the toolbox, or you can press the letter E. Now that's my selected tool, and come down here you can see what your options are. And this is the largest eraser shape that I have right now. You might have a small eraser shape. Make sure it's sort of a medium to large one, because what we want to do is start erasing the letter B. Once again, you have 10 frames total, right? So what you want to do now is erase a small part that is about 1/10 of the letter. So let's erase that to right there. Now I'm going to F6 again, and I'm going to erase another portion. F6 again, and this will be frame 4. F6 again, and this will be frame 5. F6 again, and this will be frame 6. F6, 7, F6, 8, F6, 9, F6, 10. I'm going to leave a little dot. Okay, so now let's Command S. If you hit Enter, you'll see your A is building up, your B is disappearing. Press Return to stop that. Now, something that's pretty useful, you can select frame 1 and then shift click to select the last frame, and right click and go down to the bottom and reverse frames. And now, Command S, if we go ahead and press Return, they both build up at the same time. The nice thing about doing additive animation by using subtractive animation that has been reversed is you have a little more control over the appearance of the final frame, because you can start with the way you want it to end up, and then when you end up, you've erased all of it or most of it, and then when you reverse it, you end up where you wanted to end up. It's harder to do when you're drawing it. So that's just a little hint there. So once again, we want to make sure that we have saved it and then press Command Return, which will create an SWF file. And you can see how it looks when they're both building up together. And you can see it's a very small file. It's only 3.5 kilobytes. This is the SWF history that will tell you how big your file will be when you output it. It lets you know, and that way you can keep track of your file size and try to maintain your control over the amount of memory you're using. Now, the letter C on layer C, let's change our current fill color to violet, which is 9966. Let's see if I can find where I put that. There we go. 9966 FF. There you go. And now, let's get our paintbrush. Now we want to draw a letter C. Let's make a nice big one. We know we have a lot of room here. There you go, the letter C. What are we going to do now? We're going to do manual transform. So we want to get the free transform tool. And that's up here in the toolbox. Free transform tool. It's also a Q. Now, if you press F6, click on it. Now, the first one looks like this. The second one we're going to change. We want to change it slightly. Let's slightly move and reshape it. So we can move it a little bit over to the side, and then we can make it move by changing the shape. F6, and make it move a little bit more over to the side. And a little bit more stretched out that way. Let's F6, and let's do it again. And let's rotate it now. Rotate it. Okay, F6, rotate it a little bit more. F6, rotate it a little bit back. A little bit back. A little bit back. Okay, and now let's Command S and let's Command Return and see what that looks like. So you see there's 3 different ways of making an animation from just drawn elements that you have manipulated from frame to frame. Either you can additively build something up, subtractively delete something, which you can then reverse, or you can manually transform by just changing the position and the appearance from one frame to the next. So that's tutorial number 2. Let's Command S. And since we hit the Enter, when we were doing that before, let's go back here, you can see now we know how big it is. It's 5.9 kilobytes, which is more than twice as big, or nearly twice as big as the last one. It keeps track of how big it is, and if it grows by more than a certain percentage of the last one, it will give you an it increased over 50%. It will give you an exclamation mark. So let's make sure we got a good recent, and that SWF is what you will turn in when we turn in the tutorials. Okay.